how to replace the keyboard for 2011 MacBook Air. The tool you need is this special pentalobe screwdriver for the MacBooks. It's very easy to remove the back of the unit. So this unit has some issues with the with the keyboard, that it cannot be switched off properly. So every time you try to turn it off, it turns itself back on automatically. So to make safe, to make sure I'm not going to damage this laptop, the first thing I'll do is to remove the batteries, so it's got no power going into the computer. So that's the connector holding the batteries. And the battery is removed. It's fairly chunky and heavy battery. I'm going to give this a clean later. As you can see, it's a coffee mark on this thing. Screw. Slightly bigger one. Bigger. Slightly lower. It's just a speaker. It's free. It's like, oops. 6. So one side is removed. That's the speaker unit. The backlit. It's a very thin piece of film. Try to remove it with extra caution. Don't damage anything. You need to pay extra attention to the corners. if you lift too quickly, it's going to break. You're going to tear this thin piece of film. Alright. Removed. The next thing to do is to remove this. And we have the keyboard underneath it. This diffuser, I think there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 LED. The wiring under it. It's not too bad. There we go. So that's the backlit. There are so many little screws here. Actually, I don't think I can even count how many screws are there. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. So now we have removed all the screws. It comes to the rest of the fix. Near the cable. As you can see, those rivets, small rivets or buttons, whatever you call them, holding the keyboard to the upper case. When you are pulling the keyboard off, those rivets will just pop up quite nicely. So in case we're just make sure we're not losing any of those, and making sure it's easier for me to collect those things, what I'll do first is to cover them using sticky tapes. I'll show you in a second why I'm doing this. So I'll just do those first. So when you're pulling those out, you will hear the popping sound. So pop, pop. So there is a piece of wire going under it. I think the best idea is for me to remove those two screws. That's the screen hinge. You can remove those wires and the keyboard. As I mentioned to you, I put some sticky tape on this keyboard to make sure those little rivets. When I pull the tape out, I can have those rivets for my new keyboard. So my Dyson. Some Ajax multi-purpose and a piece of paper towel. Yeah, didn't work as I have expected. And now here's the new keyboard I ordered online. So just open the pack. It is actually also a used one. I guess seems to me has been used before because apparently there's some sticky residual on this thing, but it's fairly clean. See, in reasonably good shape. So here's the new keyboard. It might be easier to plug the cable in before I start installing the keyboard. So it lines up nicely. Okay, the new keyboard went in. Now what I'm going to do is to replace those little screws, but I'm going to pause the video because it's a time-consuming job. After about 20 minutes, we have replaced most of those tiny little screws. So to put this into a perspective, the size of those screws are probably even smaller than the screws you see on your glasses. If you know what I'm saying, the little screws holding the legs of probably your sunglasses. It must be a terrible job for people in China to manually put those screws in this laptop when they were manufactured. I hope they have some kind of machinery doing this job. And now what I'm going to do is to try to replace those small rivets. As I mentioned previously, I put sticky tape at the back of the old keyboard so I can recover those little rivets easily. They're not jumping anywhere. So that's the size of the small rivet. Many of those rivets holding the keyboard actually destroyed when I was pulling the keyboard out. Probably I only have around 2/3 left. I just need to find a way to push them back into the place. Alright, now with as many rivets I can possibly put back in, the next thing to do is to just put everything back into place and see if it still works. So I hope it still works. If it doesn't, it's going to be quite disappointing. Just trying to give this thing a little bit clean. So that's the backlit diffuser. It's actually very dirty. You can imagine how dirty this thing is. It's got lots of bread crumbs, coffee stain, everything. So it even seems to me someone uses laptop previously as a cash register at the restaurant. It's probably just kidding, but yes, it is. It is very, very dirty. So this goes back in there. The whole lines up. Final clean, and I'm going to just put this back into place. It's amazing how compact this little machine is. But what also amazed me is how Apple made this thing sort of unrepairable. Because when I was taking this thing apart, I realized on the motherboard, the only component you can possibly upgrade is the SSD drive. And again, it's not a standard SSD drive, it's something that's unique to Apple. I don't know what's the name for that, but I heard some company was trying to make the aftermarket version of the SSD drive and was sued by Apple. It's not a pleasant experience. Anyways, so now I'm trying to replace the screen hinge I removed because of this wire. So both screws now went in securely, and we put those little sticky things back into place. Alright, one side went in. Taking this laptop apart, probably you get enough breadcrumb for the breakfast. Just to let you know how dirty this thing is. Alright, I just give up cleaning that. It's probably not worth my time doing it. So one side is in place. Whoops. Hope I don't snap this little cable because I don't really have a spare for that. Yes, there we go. Mounted nicely. And that's what I was looking for. So this cable goes in there. Now we put those two screws back for the fan. Is this the right one? Maybe it's not. So that's pretty much it. But before I close this off, I just need to give this thing a test, because I have no idea if it is actually fixed. Okay, now judgment time. Make sure there's no metal thing under this. Flip over. Power. Actually, I forgot to connect the battery. There you go. Woohoo! Yeah, dirty screen. So the previous keyboard has some issue with the left shift key. That works. The right shift key works, no problem. Check, check, check. Command key. Try that. Works. Power key. Works. So everything seems to be working fine. I'll just shut this down and try to put the screws back together. And now it's the matter of putting everything back together. Actually, I have done that. I'm just putting a few last screws back in. So be very careful when you're doing this, because you don't want to short anything. So I actually have left the battery disconnected. Just make sure I'm playing safe. I'm so surprised. It's the first time in my life I didn't have any spare part left after pulling apart such a complex machine. Actually, I'm just joking. It's probably my second time without any spares. I just use sticky tape to pick up the dirty stuff from my table. Now what I want to do is to give this baby another test to make sure everything works as it should be. Actually, again, I forgot the battery. Battery connected. Lampshade open. Power. The familiar Apple sound. Maybe someone's breakfast lost. everything. Cool to stop you from doing that. There's a magnet here. There we go. That's actually from the MagSafe. Not a bad deal at all. Alright. Final wipe. What is that thing? I don't need chocolate. I hope it's not like this. And inside, the screen a little clean. You need to be very careful when you're replacing the keyboard because when you close the clamshell, the next thing to the keyboard is your screen, and you want to make sure you're not going to break the screen, otherwise it's going to be a much larger build. But replacing replacing the keyboard itself is not mammothly complex, but it is fairly tricky because the keyboard is actually held in place by the little rivets, and I actually have lost maybe half of those rivets, but I can't really feel the difference when I'm typing on this. So it is alright. And then the last thing I want to do is to really make sure everything works. Power this up. I'm going to grab the power adapter. Turn on my fan, and it's going to become very hot. It's still beginning of autumn in Australia, but in the city it's still hot. That's light is under, indicating it is charging the battery. Just want to squeeze out that button, please. Other surgical tools. Great in terms of fixing the joints. Now, what I want to do is to USB plug. So here is a set disk USB. That works. Other side. Last thing to do. Allow you to. Okay. Everything works so well. So this concludes my fix. Thank you for watching. Bye.